Ways to speed up your network. Okay, so you go into your network settings. Unfortunately, I can't show you my network settings because there's too much personal information there. But if you go into your network settings, all you have to do is go here. You might have a wireless antenna. You right click and you go into here. Once you get to network settings, check on the Ethernet card or the Wi-Fi. You can turn off VPN. If you're not using VPN, turn it off. Also, make sure that the system is pulling the DNS from your router instead of from your computer. Okay? Because in your router, you have DNS settings, and you can change those DNS settings from the ISP to a third party. And the third party has they block ads, tracking, all sorts of stuff. But I find out that maybe a little bit comes through, you know? And then another way to speed up the system, um, TCP optimizer. Make sure you have that loaded. I'll show you what that looks like. I gotta bring up the other screen because when I click the File Explorer, it goes into another screen. It goes into portrait mode. Okay, I have that. Yeah. And I right click. I'm not. I'll run as administrator, but I'm not changing those settings. It runs better if you run as administrator. There's something to show you here. It's going to show Windows 10, but it's really Windows 11. Now, when you a program like this, it'll help you with the networking on your computer. Because by default, it's slow. Now, you this is Windows default. See, here's it. Here, by default, it would be here. All these are set too high. I don't know why Microsoft doesn't change that. Right now, this is optimized. This is what it is. So if you run this and you don't like it, you can always go back to default. Optimal is good, which is this is what this is. So you really can't go wrong. When you run such a program like this, another screen will come up. You hit apply and hit log and backup. Back it up. Back up the files. Do not run this on a server or a NAS. Run it on the hard drive or run it on a shared drive on your Connect attach your computer. Do not run it. Okay, you're gonna run into problems. You know, say, gee, it's not working. Well, you didn't listen. But you want to back up your settings first because it goes into the registry and change the settings, and you just modify all NIC cards and stuff like that. This one I'm having a problem. I can't get the driver for this one for Windows 11. So I want to go internally on the motherboard, but they raised everything for the wireless NIC. I have that in the laptop. It runs good. I get 800 and what's a that's AC. That's 801011 AC. I know they have AC XL, but I have nothing to take advantage of that. That's why you got to be careful. Okay, if you're gonna move up in different levels of Wi-Fi. Okay, so right now I'm using Wi-Fi 5. There's Wi-Fi 6. That's 802.11ax. Okay, but you have to have stuff to support. Even though it can whatever the NIC can handle, the wireless NIC can go up to. That's what it'll push. But if you have like a laptop, you just order a mini PCIe card. They're easy to install. It's like installing memory. You gotta be careful with the antennas. You need tweezers or needle nose pliers to get those antenna leads off, and then you install it. It's very easy. Okay, let me get out of that. All right. So if you're playing, well, I play World of Tank Blitz, Star Trek Online, Netherwinter when I feel like it, Asphalt. Sometimes I play. This is Raid of Shadow Legends. And, if you're gonna play games like that, you want the system to speed up. Okay, you want Windows resources that are not being used to kick on. Now, so I brought back Razer Cortex So Razer Cortex. This app, this app is a launcher, a cleaner, a booster, a defragger. It has a lot of stuff. But the main purpose that people use this program is for gaming. I know that WiseCare has WiseCare Game Booster. It's a separate program, but it's a little antique. See, it don't pick up these games. It must be. It said found 10 issues. It needs to fix them. Well, unfortunately, the issues are. It's gonna find this. I'm running that. Cortex is running, so don't need to run it. But this is the other option that we have. Let me get it out of the. Let me get this out of the way because too many things running is silly. Okay. Now, how would you compare this? This system has a launcher for your games. Xbox, Steam. It does everything here. That's your library, platform, game booster. This would run automatically, and when you exit out, it turns everything back on. Okay? With this one, you'd have to do it manually. Did this move up bigger? It's different size. Okay. Yeah, so that one you have to do it manually. This would do it automatically. It does the same thing as the Wise does. You got system boosters done. I could scan. Let's see if it finds any junk because I was on the internet. Done. Now it does clean the Windows temps, recycling in the browser temp folder. I mean, it can do it automatically. It cleans out the registry. You can have a custom clean. What else can it clean? Clean out the registry if you wanted to. Recycling bin, download files, backup files. Recommended. Yeah, these are the recommended. It has a defrag if you're still running a hard drive, mechanical hard drive. So it'll go into the folders of these games and defrag. But SSD is memory, so it's run differently. You don't need it. So you get the speed up. System was optimized. I'm going to tell you, I did another video, but something happened. But only one thing that was not optimized using the TCP optimizer, the WiseCare booster, and the WiseCare 365. One thing they overlook. One thing is foreground backup, foreground memory. So this one cleaned up that. Okay, let's see if I can get this to work right. Okay. Another thing you can do in your router, if we're talking about speeding up everything inside the router, again the DNS settings, you can change those. Primary, IP4. Do it in the router. Don't do it on the computer. It's a big difference. If you do it on the router, it'll take care of everything that's hooked up to the router. Another thing you can do. What was that? It'll come to me. I just lost train of thought there. Okay, let's see how this compares to Cortex. Because these are the most popular programs right now. Let's see if it finds anything. Because remember, Cortex is for gaming only. It doesn't have any utilities, only what's built in. Does it clean better? Well, this does privacy. But you still need one thing else. You need super spyware cleaner. Make sure nothing else is in there. Oh yeah, this is running because I have the browser open. Okay, let me shut that down. I closed it. This is a no-brainer for people who don't want to touch anything else. That's it. So they still have one thing, a Cortex caught, they didn't catch, the foreground, but they caught everything. So Cortex would get 100% in that. I know this they still need improvement. I mean, they need to catch everything. So this will get, let's see, 100%. This will get 99 because they missed one. Okay, 98. But they do have privacy tracing. Cortex doesn't seem to have that. But yeah, so this is how you speed up the machine. Now a lot of people say, "Well, Windows has this built in." True, Windows, but it's slow and it's not order. It's time consuming, and you have to poke around. There's something else I have to say. Keep on. Yeah, okay. In the router, ALG. Yes, ALG or GLA. Well, FTP, IPsec, and a couple of others. If you're not running VPN, you need to turn all that off. That's another thing. Turn off VPN on your computer. Save up memory. Save up resources. Same thing. If you're not using VPN or on your router, you might as well turn that off. And that's what you need to do is turn that stuff off. Okay. So this says it found 4,000 items to clean. So you can see where Cortex is still missing stuff. Oh, you can run both of them. That way you know it's cleaned. Well, as you can see the same thing with this. They both clean everything. They both get the network settings. But the foreground is one thing that this didn't catch. So this is something they overlooked. Yeah, that's in here. System clean. Game booster. It's not booster. Booster Prime. Oh, those are games. System booster. System clean speed ups. It's in here. I can't show you, but one of the items was not done. But this one has it. Well, it caches pretty much everything, but it was one thing it didn't have. They're both identical in what they do. But this has more utilities. This you can block stop programs from starting up and eating up your RAM. And you get the PC checkup. The Pro has this feature and this feature and some other little features. But other than that, no, Free has a lot of features too. Now, Windows Defender. Do you know what that's for? That's the firewall. You can block inbound. So what I was talking about in the router, you're blocking all inbound traffic is a file transfer protocol, IPsec, things for that you're not using. You should block it in your router. So that's extra protection. It doesn't block it by default. A lot of routers don't even have that feature. And they do parental, but parental is not the same. Parental is for the child. You don't want the child to access the computer late at night. You can shut off that stuff. That's that. But you want security features. And that's why sometimes it's better to spend the money and buy a router, like a business router. But a lot of business routers have VPN, VLAN, dual WAN. Dual WAN is two WAN ports. Now, if you have a modem that has two WAN and they're active, you could plug it into the tube. Now, the only reason why I say that you can do that is that's what I'm doing. And that seems to increase the router performance. I know you said, gee, how is that possible? Because even though I disabled one of the WANGs, World Area Network, that's what it's called, it's still bleeding. It's still active. Because I can see the logs, it tells you. So by connecting the two ports, because I have a modem, it's 2 gigs, so both ports are 2 gigs, and so the router handles two WANGs. And all this time, since I had it, I only had one WANG being used. But right now, both of them are using. I ran the test, and speed increased on the router. So, hey, I might as well. Because there's no way to disable the other port. It's always active. If you plug in a line, it should be disabled on the motor, but it's not. It's on. So, hey, as long as it's on, I notice an increase. But, like I said, just be careful when you're buying equipment. But that's another tip too there. So, yeah. So if you're running games that I mentioned, this is what this is for. This is strictly for games, but it also keeps the system clean. But if I launch a game, you'll see it kick on trying to save RAM, but it'll shut this down that I'm running in the background. So, yeah, you should have both of that. Oh yeah, by the way, I want to mention that some games are bloatware. Not games. Not games. Let's put it this way. Not games. Some cleaners. IOBit. Nobody I'm sponsoring. I'm just telling you what to watch out for. IOBit. When you would install that game booster, it'll install the cleaner. I know it should tell you not to do, but it's still installed. It installs a whole bunch of little programs. VPN, a whole bunch of things into your machine. That's bloatware. You don't want that. So you got to be careful with that. Even if you got it from them directly, it's still going to install. So that's really bad. And then they don't clean everything. They only clean a certain percentage, and that's how they get you to clean. You really don't even know what it's doing in the machine. My advice is to remove everything it does. Go into your control panel in Windows. Go into programs uninstall. Then do it manually. Hit the date, and you see what was installed that day, and you go through that list and uninstall everything. Don't even bother I'll say why you uninstalling it. Just uninstall it. You don't have to answer anything. You don't have to give them feedback, more stuff. But just be careful what you install in the machine. The best things right now to install on the computer to help you, to me, are the following programs would be for cleaning is the WiseCare Booster, and the Cortex. This is the Razer Cortex, not the whole program. It has a lot of parts, and you don't want too much on the system. Now you can control that in Steam. If you're not using Steam and you're launching, say, Asphalt or World Tank Blitz, you don't have to run Steam because sometimes Steam crashes. That's a lot too. It's a lot on your RAM too. I got a lot of RAM, so I don't make it bother me. But it's not the RAM you have to worry about, because the system resources. Because you got the RAM, you got the ROM, and you got system resources, memory allocated for programs and stuff. Because that's how Windows operating system. Then you got the virtual RAM, which it uses part of the hard drive. They're still doing that, even though you have SSD. So it uses, since the SSD is memory, then you won't. It's transparent. The system runs faster. Yes, another thing too. Get rid of the hard drive. You download backup programs. There's some free ones. You can talk about it in another video, and that will clone your drive. So you can clone the mechanical to a USB for an SSD. You have to get the kit for that. You can't just do it randomly. And once you do that, you have everything in your SSD, and you put it in your machine. So SSD should be all the programs loaded, and you have another SSD, or you can put a NAS and have your documents, your pictures, and everything on that. And that's the proper way of running your network in your home. If you got more than one computer, you can run everything out of. You don't have to buy a switch. You know, that's another thing. You have your modem, your router, and the router has ports. If you just have two computers in the house, and you just if you're not running anything wired and everything is wireless, that's all you really need. The only time you buy a switch is when you have a whole bunch of other things. Now, if you have smart house with lights, video cameras, Wi-Fi, video cameras, Wi-Fi, lights, and remote and you can turn your fans off and on, and all these different things, you know, and your robot cleaning back too. It's also smart house. I have that too. So all of that is controlled. So wireless. So you need something that can handle at least 120 devices. A lot of these routers, these wireless routers, they can't handle all these things. So you got to do your homework. We'll talk about that in another video. But I'm just telling you tips to speed up Windows, speed up your network, get everything organized. Well, let's do that. Okay, okay, router. As I said, okay. Um, you want to some routers maybe only do 50 devices. That's why you got to look at the processor. Some of them are dual core. How fast is that? 800, 1 gig. Should be 1 gig. It should be actually. There's also TP-Link, and I'm promoting them, but they have they're tri-core. There's 3 cores and only 256 mega RAM. That's not enough RAM. That's not enough RAM. You need at least 512 minimum, dual core. What you really should get is quad core, and at least a gig or more of RAM. Because the more RAM you have, the faster it be, and the router and the modem. Now some people get both router and modem, but it's better to have it separate because if anything happens to the modem, the router will be affected. You see, and the wireless router, I preferred wired, but there's not enough wired, and the only wired ones out there now are the business ones because that's what the business have. Then you have the access points, but with the access points, you need there's a there's a controller for the access point controller. The controller is where the access points plug into it, so it's a separate unit from the router and the switch and everything. Otherwise, the switch or the router would have to manage the how the access points communicate because the access points, they are separate. If you just want to buy a wireless router with two, no antennas, 4 antennas, 6 antennas, and as many as they want to make it, because and those things need to be cool too. If they're running hot, if they overheat, then they're gonna thermal shutdown. They're not gonna work right. You got to keep that thing cool. You get a cooling pad to cool it, or build a closet and keep it refrigerated, like because that's what they have in the business. Business keep the network cool. They have to, otherwise they overheat. Fans can't keep it cool, and especially in a hot climate, a tropical climate, and you got to keep it dry too. So you might have to get a dehumidifier. It's a lot to think about. Here, I live in a hot climate, but right now it's cool. I keep all the network gear. Like I mentioned, I have rack mounted. I think it's 18 inches across, I believe. I have to measure it. I can't remember exactly, but they're in a mini rack, which is like a studio rack. Yeah, because studio equipment has the same rack mounted features too. So the network equipment fit right in there. And you want to get yourself a power conditioner. A power conditioner is a large rack mounted power supply. It filters out all the noise. And there's a lot, and especially you want to get the studio grade for studio. Say at a studio, because that's more powerful, and that'll take care of your TV sets, the high definition TV. It'll filter out all the line noise because you just can't just get a surge protector and call it a day. You need surge protection. You need EMI, and that's electromagnetic interface, and EMI, EMF. There's a couple other features too, and the surge protector and conditioning of the line. So it takes out all that static noise. You know that little crackling noise? But sometimes poorly made equipment will still have static because it's not soldered correctly, or something's wrong, or a bad capacitor. comp, compa, compa, yeah, capacitor. Um, that's another thing there. But like I did, I put power conditions for everything in this house except for the kitchen. For the kitchen, the same thing too. We got sound. We got a sound bar. Same thing in here. We got a sound bar. I got how many? I think yeah, I got three sound bars. I got them for. They're better than the game speakers. So if you're doing the Black Friday deals, you can get the blaster from Walmart for $29. I don't know if it's gonna be $29 this year, but that's good for your laptop or a computer. And you have four speakers in there, and it's a DSP. It's a digital sound processor, so it doesn't have Dolby Digital like everything else. Dolby Digital is better. That's for real. The DSP is a chip. It's supposed to simulate Dolby Digital, but it's not the same. Don't expect to have Atmos and Dolby Digital Plus to kick on. It won't sound the same. It's an enhancement. That's all it is. They do have digital, but you're gonna have to pay more than $29 for it. It's $100. But anyway, what I'm saying is this: your experience. If you want your network to run great, if you take the following steps and protect yourself against, security and stuff like that. That's why I can't show you a lot of things, but I can tell you that you can get yourself an NAS network attached storage device. They used to have system attached storage devices, but it's one a NAS, and you get a NAS, and you put what you want in there, terabyte. You can go. I have 4 terabyte, yeah, but you can go higher than that, and that in there you store all your folders on the network, so you have a real network in your house. You have your kids would store their files, your wife, your sons, and everybody, including yourself, would have access, and you have shared folders, and they can store all the pictures, video, audio. You can have a music server in the house. You can have your own internal website in your house. Yeah, it's intranet. That's what that's called. I used to do that, but I don't do that anymore. I don't really need that. But you can have your own website in your house. You can web management. You can do a lot of things. Media server. So a lot of people have all that stuff. If you have the time, you can do all that. But that's what that's for. And you can have cloud now. You can have your own cloud, running out of your house. And you can, get on the road and communicate with the house. See, when communicating with the house is a different story. Security is very tight. This has to be careful. But that's about it. That's all I can think of right now. Keep the hard drive. Keep your system clean. You don't have to defrag anymore if you have SSD. So that's one less chore. But the file system gets corrupted. You delete, install. You delete, install. The registry gets out of control. It gets fragmented. You got to defrag it. WiseCare can take care of that for you. It has that feature. Defrag registry. You'll notice when the registry is defrag, it takes too long to boot up. The system that is running sluggish. You should be able to launch your browser. It should be quick into your channel. If you have a YouTube channel like me, it should just go quick, zoom right in there. You shouldn't hesitate, drag out, too slow. Sometimes the NIC goes bad. It's a lot of things that people need to understand and avoid, getting extra repairs, because these guys will charge a lot of money. I know they have to make a living, but a lot of things you could do to prevent stuff, because your PC is designed to be taken apart and fixed on your own. Yes, if you don't want to touch stuff like that, then you have to hire somebody. But you can do it yourself. But if you maintain your system and keep your system running on peak, just like your SUV, whatever it is you drive, you maintain it. Do the same thing in your computer. I don't recommend keeping the computer on all the time. It's costly. To run this desktop here, it's like $30 if I left it on. Between 20 and $30, because you got the monitors. I know everything goes to sleep mode, but it's better to it's better that way. One more thing too. You have a Wi-Fi laser LAN printer. Should you turn on the Wi-Fi? It depends. If you can't connect to it from your wireless laptop, but you should be able to if everything's all synced up right. You shouldn't have to turn on the Wi-Fi because that's another extra step. And if you do that, you got to make sure that the stuff that you don't want to change your IP address, they have to go static. So that's another thing to do. You have to learn how to use DHCP versus reserve. So you reserve certain devices on your network, like the access points. You don't have to do the smart lights and all that. But the access points, printers. If you want a computer that you don't want to change the name or the NAS to, those are the things that would have static. So those addresses stay the same all the time. Well, anyway, I hope you learn a lot. I'm here. You can hit me with anything. And then we have a couple updates. Talk about like on TV, 4K streaming no longer available. Walmart says they can't get any more of them, or they weren't selling. They sell better when they were cheap. Well, that's how Walmart is. But the remote can sometimes play tricks with you. You turn it on, you get red signal. Nothing's working. You think it's the batteries. It's not the batteries. It's the remote not communicating to the little box. You would press the home button and the arrow button at the same time. But before you do all of that, you'd have to use your Google Home app and select your TV and select the remote. Open the remote so you have a virtual remote pop up on the screen. Head over to options, because you can't use a remote no more, so you need some way to control your TV. No, you cannot control your TV with your phone. It's not the same as having a fast little remote. And then you go into the settings and change it. Change it so it can pick it up. It should pick it up automatically if you press the two buttons. It'll come up. And you're going to have to reboot the machine, restart your on streaming thing, your device, so it can recognize everything. Otherwise, you're going to have problems. That little box, it's not perfect. There's little glitches. Well, Android has some glitches, and everybody knows that. But, hey, we'll talk about that in another video. I just want to cover some ways to speed up your system, speed up the network, speed up your devices, gaming, everything. Just all in one. That's what this is. Hey, do a little favor for me? Support the channel by subscribing. Okay? Thanks a lot for watching this video. We're out of here.